everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining our Matchmaker session today. My name is Patrick Byrne. I'm the project manager for CityLAB Hamilton. Our Matchmaker events are where we learn more about the projects that are submitted to us by city staff members, and we work with our faculty members to try to find good student, faculty, and staff partnerships to tackle the problems and challenges that the City of Hamilton staff face. And today we're really pleased to be joined by Marion Trent-Kratz, who's an early years senior research advisor with the Healthy and Safe Communities Department at the city. And Marion brings us a challenge to analyze Canada-wide early learning and childcare data to inform the future expansion and to look at the quality trends across the programs. So really happy to have you today, Marion, and would love for you to tell us a little bit about your role at the city and particularly how your work impacts Hamiltonians.
Okay, great. So I brought a presentation to share to give a visual because myself, I'm a very visual learner. So I thought it would be best to demonstrate the information through visual and through auditory. So is it okay if I share my screen now?
Absolutely.
Okay. Okay, so just go to the next slide. So good morning. As Patrick mentioned, I'm Marion Trent-Kratz, Early Years Senior Research Advisor for the City of Hamilton's Children and Community Services Division in the Performance Planning and Evaluation Team in the Healthy and Safe Communities Department. The division I work for is responsible for child care services and early years services, along with other programs such as educational resources for professionals, as well as the seniors strategy and the urban and indigenous strategy, etc. in Hamilton. As a team, we focus on human services data infrastructure collection and management, program evaluation to inform continuous improvement, policy development, and knowledge mobilization or knowledge transfer from the work we do. We also engage in various research partnerships with various institutions to expand our capacity to generate knowledge to inform, plan, and improve service programs for early years systems. And my role as Senior Research Advisor is to include a range of research and evaluation, policy development, human services planning, and project management activities to support the early learning and childcare initiative. And the goal really is about continuous improvement to inform planning, decision-making, and knowledge transfer or sharing, contributing to making Hamilton that best place to raise a child and age successfully. And from its inception, back when we had the Best Start initiative, it's always been with the focus of making Hamilton the best place to raise a child.
Wonderful. Thank you. So you're really providing that like data insight to help programs run their best. Is that
absolutely?
Nice.
That's a fair summary.
Wonderful. Great. So can you tell us a little bit about the challenge that you submitted to sort of guide us through and with some of the background and what you're looking for?
Sure. So that brings us to the specific focus of the CityLAB project today. It's about Hamilton's Early Years Quality Program, and one of the initiatives that I work alongside as a team with another team of staff and community partners who strive for continuous improvement among operators who have funding agreements with the City of Hamilton. And it's really about determining how Hamilton's past quality priorities will inform priorities in the future. And the early years system expansion is one of the catalysts for this project, because as we move into Canada-wide early learning and childcare, affordable childcare for families and children 0 to 6 years of age, with the goal of $10 per day on average for childcare fees for eligible children by 2025, where we have the idea or the prediction that the implications are that it will increase our early learning and childcare operators who will be delivering service, as well as the demand for early learning and childcare from the population of families and children who reside in Hamilton, as well as managing and maintaining the continuity of Hamilton's high quality service delivery that we have a very good reputation for.
Wonderful.
So I can give a little bit of background on the Hamilton Early Years Quality Program if you'd like to know a bit more.
That would be great. Yeah.
Okay, so the Hamilton Early Years Quality Program is a framework and process to guide continuous quality assurance for organizations providing early years programs through funding agreements with the city. The program is mandatory for all operators in Hamilton. It's a collaboratively implemented program by the city and the affiliated services for children and youth. This is an organization that supports our early years system with professional resources and professional development. Operators annually complete and submit what is called the city's Hamilton Early Years Quality Program System template. And there are annual visits that are conducted by the quality program leads from the city and affiliated services for children and youth, as well as quality analysts and professional learning consultants with the city and ASCII that collaborate to support programs and educators in their professional learning and to guide and support them in implementing their programs. And what happens is emerging trends and interests are identified through the system templates, annual quality visits and discussions, and responded to through professional learning. In the past, we've done evaluation and continuous improvement work, and it started back in 2017 when the program was shifted away from what was formerly called Raising the Bar to now Hamilton's Early Years Quality Program, and a developmental evaluation framework based on the works of Michael Patton where it was applied. And we looked at process and outcomes related to measures aligned with the evolution of the program. And it helped as it evolved to change and grow in the program and involved multiple sources of data, qualitative, quantitative work collected, and multiple perspectives and equitable participation across all our community partners to provide input. And it also informs how the program impacts services, families, children, educators, and the early childhood education program that's offered at Mohawk and the students' experiences of quality when they do internships. And then the impact really is about providing city with the information and data to inform planning and continuous improvement opportunities at a system as well as an operational level, while holding those operators accountable for the high quality reputation that Hamilton has for providing diverse and inclusive learning environments for children 0 to 12 years of age. So I can give a bit more details about the actual system templates if you like.
Sure. Yeah. Do you mind if can I ask you a question to sort of summarize things a little bit? So
sure.
So my understanding based on the challenge in your presentation, Marion, is that you're expecting a surge of new operators because of the $10 a day commitment from the federal government and the provincial government, and so you're seeing that your system of early childhood educators is going to be expanding, and you're trying to like prepare for that expansion through the quality and data that you do. Is that?
So we have an entire team that's dedicated to the rollout of the Canada-wide early learning and childcare system. That would be Brenda Bax, who's the manager, and she has associated staff, senior project managers, and as well as staff related to program analysis that are dedicated to that portfolio, whereas the quality initiative is an initiative under Alex Majerzik, who is the manager and who will be responsible for responding to the expansion. However, there's a repository of data that we have that due to the pandemic, many of us were redeployed to other areas of the city. So for myself, I was in public health during the contact tracing and monitoring phase of the pandemic, as well as in very early on in the pandemic housing. So much of the qualitative data that we have has not gone through the analysis it should, and that's our challenge. And we would like to do that as sort of a snapshot of the pre-pandemic, the pandemic, because the quality program was still being implemented during the pandemic, as well as the reopening and business continuity in 2022 to get a sense of where is quality at as it relates to those templates and the 4 system priorities that those templates focus on. Because really, if we are not looking at the past, it's hard to inform the future.
Absolutely. Okay. So there's a bit of catching up to do with work.
Exactly.
That wasn't. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Do you want to tell us more about the role of students in that particular the particular challenge that you think students can assist with?
Yeah, sure. I'm just going to pull a document up that I did some reflections on that because I do know that the expectations of students is important to know when taking on this kind of task. So really, it's about dealing with the volume of data and the process involved with organizing the data and determining those appropriate methods for units of analysis. Not saying that we haven't done that in the past, we have. However, I would like a sort of third-party set of eyes to take a look at it and really consider ways that we can look at it in a more unique way as we move forward, and then validating and ensuring reliability controls are in place to ensure that what we're seeing is actually what we're interpreting, and then running that analysis with the idea that, one, they would utilize all the various resources associated with the quality program. Those are things like the actual template itself that's been filled out by the operators, using the program guide that identifies 8 elements, using the How Does Learning Happen resource as a guide as well, to kind of inform the way they interpret the data or organize the data. And then they would look at that data and determine the unit of analysis to analyze the 4 priority areas. And the 4 priority areas are the quality, accessibility as it relates to inclusion, diversity, and integration, meaning partnerships across the system, and sharing resources, and connecting and networking with other organizations to deliver service. An example of that would be when a childcare operator also delivers early on services. That's one example. And then also sustainability for long-term business continuity. And so the idea would be to capture that data into a digital format in Excel or SPSS, which is the IBM program that we use to analyze data, because right now it's currently in a PDF format, and analyze the data based on units of analysis that they all agreed to, conduct the reliability or validation to determine if the units of analysis are consistent across the students that are going to be working on the project, and then produce an SPSS output or Excel output, and then generate a presentation just to summarize the data using various data visualization techniques. It's quite an ambitious project, I'll admit that. And if we get to the point where at least we find out what type of unit of analysis and how we want to approach that is completed, then perhaps another project could look at doing the actual analysis. But my hope is that the group would be ambitious and would want to see it through to the end.
Fantastic. That gives a great sense of things, and I think helps to scope out potential chunks that could be taken off by groups or a group, and allows some flexibility, and seeing, to your point of seeing it through to the data visualization and the analysis would be really a really good project, and I think one that would be interesting for people to see the final reports. Wonderful. Is there anything else you'd like to share about the project or your expectations or deliverables?
No, actually, I think that I've reached the point where, I could do the final slide and then we would go to questions, but
Sure.
At this point, like, I covered off what really is part of the project, which are those system templates, and the use of those for the actual source of data. And I think it's really about focusing on those 5 years. And I think they're unique years because we'll get captures of pre-pandemic versus pandemic operation versus reopening. And it would be really, I know for a fact that having a precursor look at that data, the pandemic years were very focused on safety. Like, that's a given. Whereas prior to that, it was very much about pedagogical documentation, which is a form of capturing children's learning and co-learning among early childhood educators. And then also seeing that from a child's perspective and being able to provide stimulating environments and equipment that would assist with pedagogical documentation and investing in natural outdoor spaces. Those were the focuses very much in 2017 to 2020. And then the pandemic hit. And I'm sure that those goals shifted drastically during that time.
Yeah. Yeah, I see. Yeah, that'll be a very, very interesting to see that data for sure.
Absolutely.
Can I ask a clarifying question here? So the system templates, can you tell us more about what they are and how are they submitted by the EC providers or how does that work?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you for the question about the clarification. So these templates are implemented annually. There's 76 operators that operate single to multiple sites, almost like 200 locations in the city, who have funding agreements with the city, and they are primary quantitative and qualitative, but heavier emphasis on qualitative data sources. The templates were implemented in 2017 to align and reflect the shifts in early learning and childcare, and they really emphasize the inquiry-based social emotional learning perspective. They focus on 4 key areas that I'm looking for analysis on, but yes, they are submitted by those operators on an annual basis in April, and they are modified to respond to changing trends and gaps in service in November, December, when all visits and all goals have been determined and worked towards at the end of the year. There's an activity of reconciling what's been completed, and some goals will continue into the next year, and new goals will be identified on the templates on an annual basis. The templates are situated on our city website. And so the updated templates will likely be available for implementation for 2023 in late February, and then the operators will fill them out and submit them to the city, and they go to the quality team, which is comprised of a manager, 2 quality analysts, and a supervisor that would receive those templates. And then once they get those templates, they will do a cursor examination of them for trends, potential opportunities for resources that will need to be budgeted for in the areas that the operators identify. And the important part about the templates is it's really a self-determined goal tool. It's something that operators identify where they feel they need growth, because if you look at how does learning happen, we approach it from educators as being capable and competent, and the same with the operators, capable and competent of determining their learning needs and their resources and the areas of growth that they are required to provide high quality environments for children and families in Hamilton. And there are opportunities for the city and affiliated services for children and youth to guide those goals. If there's an opportunity, if it happens that perhaps an operator isn't reaching a level of quality that the city would anticipate. But having said that, that is very few operators.
Right. Okay. So it's a bit of a quality check on them, but it's also sort of empowering them to understand their needs and what they're moving towards improving.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Because it's about co-learning and growing together as a system rather than about punitive measures. And really, there's so many checks and balances in the system, especially when they have individuals from the Ministry of Education coming in as well that are checking in on them. So the city is really about guiding them towards quality.
Okay, awesome. Good to know. I'm sure it's a complicated system with lots of parts as well with all those pieces. So it helps me to hone in on understanding what you're looking for and how this piece fits in with the other jurisdictions as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Okay, thank you very much. Anything else to add before we move into questions?
No, I think that is it.
Okay, wonderful.
It's just questions, and I'll stop sharing because now
There we go. I just did it for you there.
Oh, you did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us, Marion, and thanks for joining us on this Matchmaker.